We are like,
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. And today we are back again with another series of new launches, new shows, new podcasts, and new, more inspiring personalities on our platform, Metamorphosis. So, Metamorphosis is creating awareness on transforming the whole mindset approach, educational aspect, and creating awareness in the teaching and the learning process of each and every human being where we were stuck with COVID and learning was stopped. And today we are here connected with global educators across the globe. We have a multitude of experts over here who are going to create awareness on what is actually NEP 20 and how we as global change makers can bring a change through our own expertise and learning and teaching processes. So today on this show of the first podcast show of Metamorphosis, we have an inspiring personality, Dr. Milind Kane, sir. So I would like to welcome my new guest, Milind Kane, sir, on this platform of my first show, the New Talk podcast. Welcome, sir, on this platform.
A very good evening to you. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. So I will just say a few lines about Milind, sir. Milind, sir, is an emotional intelligence specialist and an ICF certified life coach. He works with the human mind and human relations to enable personal and professional excellence. And it's an honor for each one of us on Metamorphosis to learn from this expert who is creating milestones in global, I will say transforming the whole mindset approach. And I've been observing, sir, from the last 3 or 4 years, and it's a privilege to be connected with sir to understand the concept of emotional intelligence and how it can help educators and early childhood educators to transform this and convert into a wonderful teaching where we can infuse this in the teacher training process also. So once before I introduce sir again, I would like my technical help to just show the song and make me the host, sir, afterwards. Lalitji.
अगर कोई कर सकता है तो मैं क्यों नहीं, क्या है उनमें ऐसा जो मुझ में नहीं। अगर कोई कर सकता है तो मैं क्यों नहीं, क्या है उनमें ऐसा जो मुझ में नहीं। झांक ले अपने भीतर, खुद से आ पूछ ले, कैसी चाहे जिंदगी, खुली आंखों से देख ले। मुट्ठियों को भींच गए, सांसों को खींच गए, मुट्ठियों को भींच गए, सांसों को खींच गए, सबसे टकराने को, शिखर पर जाने को मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ। मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ, मैं तैयार हूँ। हाँ, मुश्किलें हो कैसी भी मेरे हौसलों से कम है, अंधेरों को चीर देंगे इतना दम है। मुश्किलें हो कैसी भी मेरे हौसलों से कम है, अंधेरों को चीर देंगे इतना दम है। आओ हाथ बढ़ाएं, कुछ करके दिखाना है, सारे बहानों को आज से आग लगाना है। मुट्ठियों को भींच गए, सांसों को खींच गए, मुट्ठियों को भींच गए, सांसों को।
Thank you, Lalitji. You can make me the host and I will take forward the session. Yeah. Thank you so much. So here we are on this platform of Metamorphosis. Before we start the session is a small lines of introduction to Lalit, to Milind sir. कठिन रहा ना देख, पीछे मुड़ना, ये कोई बात नहीं होती है। हौसला रख, चुनौतियों का सामना करना, यही एक असली योद्धा की पहचान होती है। एंड वी हैव दिस वंडरफुल योद्धा इन फ्रंट ऑफ अस हु हैज been creating awareness and transforming lives of so many people, as I have observed the Milind K sir doing his work relentlessly and in such a graceful way. So over to you, sir. I would like to invite you on this platform and to learn from you what is actually emotional intelligence. Please take a few minutes to introduce about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I think the introduction that you have given is pretty good, because I am indeed an emotional intelligence specialist. I'm also an ICF certified life coach, and I'm the CEO of HQ, Hospitality Forum, okay, which is a learning company where our flagship uh, product is behavior assessments based on the extended disk system. And we work across domains with a high focus on hospitality, and we also do communication skills. So that's the addition that I could give to my introduction.
Wonderful, sir. So, sir, before we start this session, I would like to highlight some things that how can teachers promote emotional intelligence in their students, and many sort of questions. First of all, is I would like to ask is what is actually emotional intelligence?
Okay, so I will give you a very simple definition of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand our emotions, to understand the emotions of others, and to craft a behavior that is suitable to the context. So yeah, so this is the definition. Now, the description of what emotional intelligence, a bird's eye view description that I'll give you of emotional intelligence, it's divided into different clusters. Okay, so there is self-awareness, there is self-regulation, then there is empathy, and there is relationship management. Okay, so empathy is also called social awareness, and relationship management is also called social skills. Okay, so we can slice this in two ways. We can slice it according to self and others, or we can slice it according to knowledge and action. So if we slice it according to self and others, on the one hand, we have self awareness and self regulation, and on the other hand, we have social awareness and social skills. If we talk of knowledge and action, then we have self-awareness and social awareness on the one hand, and we have self-regulation and social skills on the other hand. So that's a bird's eye view of emotional intelligence.
Okay. So, sir, before we start, I think a lot is happening. I think we all have faced this COVID period, 4 years, 3.5 years. So we always stuck in one room, and some had small houses, some had bungalows, some had open spaces on the road. What was your observation when we all were locked up in the COVID period? And did you ever feel that that has interrupted our emotional intelligence in a way, and how it has affected a normal man?
Okay, so you know what? There is a huge sense of connect that we get when we are face to face with people. Okay, we are able to feel the vibes of other people. Okay, so there are if you look at NLP, it divides people into three types. The BAK thing, that's visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So the kinesthetic people who are a lot into emotions and feelings, they get affected when they are not able to be in the physical presence of others. So that kind of a thing did happen. But on the other hand, uh, there were some good things that happened because we got on so much onto electronic media. Our reach increased phenomenally, and we were able to reach across various geographies, and we were able to reach to different people. So that per se was not a challenge. Okay, communicating through Zoom and communicating through Google Meet and all that, that's all fine. The real challenge was that the people who used to go to office, they had to hang around at home, and they had to spend with the home people much more time than they usually spent. And then that gave rise to a lot of interpersonal complications.
Yeah, that's why I focused more on this, because that impact is still there. They are not able to come out of it, and that mental instability that has set up in a person's mind during those 2.5 years, because they were going through the grief period also. They have
Hmm.
lost some loved ones also. They
Yes.
had small children to attend. They were confined to the four walls of the houses. And what do you think that till now they are being affected? Till now they are not able to come up. So
Yeah.
how they can create uh, any tool that you have that they can come out of this in a more better way and transform themselves?
Yeah. So one thing that comes to mind, I have been working also on a project where we are analyzing people who've been laid off, and the people who survive, what is their mindset. So now I find a parallel over here. But that these people have built their entire life around their employers. They have not created a personality for themselves. Okay,
Exactly.
so the more obsessed they are with their employers, the more is the codependency that they have. So they are defined by their work. Therefore, when they are at home, they're unable to establish any kind of a reasonable identity, for the simple reason that they have not built up that kind of an identity with their family.
That's why it's more important to brush up on the skills and work on your own self also.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So why do you think emotional intelligence is so important? At least now after the COVID, it's more important. Before, I think it was a much negligent subject where people did not know that such a thing existed.
Hmm. So let me highlight it to you by slightly expanding on what these clusters are. Now, and primarily I'll talk about the self. So when you look at self-awareness, there is emotional awareness, there's accurate self-assessment, and there is self-confidence. Now, unless we are aware of ourselves and unless we are confident about ourselves, how are we going to be able to take right decisions, and how are we going to be able to sort of infuse that confidence in others? So that's an issue. Then you look at self-regulation. Self-regulation is what? It's self-control, trustworthiness, conscientiousness, adaptation, innovation. Now, what you find is that during COVID, there were three aspects of this which suffered. Self-control suffered, and adaptation and innovation suffered, because people were not able to adapt to the digital way of life. So that was an issue. And then whatever stress resulted, they were not able to cope with it. So self-control also is an issue. So these are the aspects which actually needed to be worked on a lot.
Do you think people are putting efforts to work on this? What is the current data or
No,
statistic that
no, there is always an inhibition. You see what happens if we get a headache or if we get a stomach ache, we don't mind picking up the phone on the doctor or personally visiting the doctor and telling the doctor, see, this is what's happening. But if we are suffering anxiety, if we are suffering panic attacks, if we are in a state of depression, we don't do anything. We just think it by positive thinking and yoga, everything will work out. It's not
it's not that
that.
easy?
Positive thinking and yoga are meant to be assets when you are actually undergoing therapy, but it doesn't substitute the therapy.
Definitely. Then and to make things more worse, most of the people are just going through the Google and taking over the shelf prescriptions on their own, which is which is aggravating the situation more.
Yes, yes, that's very dangerous. I would say whether it is for mental products or for physical products, nobody, no matter how good their knowledge, should do self-medication.
That's right.
Everything should always be prescribed by a proper healthcare
Expert.
professional. Yeah.
Expert. So, whom do you think can benefit from emotional intelligence? Who are the, I mean, I will like, it's better that we go through layers that who are the people or who are the tribes that can benefit from the emotional intelligence thing? and how they can do it.
Okay, so as such, I'll tell you the entire population can benefit from emotional intelligence because it is a universal thing. However, if I were to really focus, I would say that people who are in leadership positions, they are the people who really need to have emotional intelligence because they are driving their workforce and other people are drawing inspiration from them. So they are becoming role models for people.
Definitely.
So unless they are emotionally intelligent, how are they going to be able to make other people emotional?
Exactly. Totally. How are they working on it? If you would have connected with some leaders that you say, how are they working on it?
Here, unfortunately, there's a problem. And I'll tell you what that problem is. When you reach the very top, you are not assessed for your people skills. You are
Definitely.
assessed for your ability to deliver results in terms of numbers. So the sales have to be maximized, the profits have to be maximized, and in the pressure of getting that done, emotional intelligence does get compromised. So there is a need for people at the very apex level to understand how emotional intelligence works. And there are a lot of myths that are there regarding finance and people. A lot of companies, now they've done downsizing. They think that by downsizing, they will reduce their expenses and then increase their profits. But it doesn't happen that way. 50% of the companies who have downsized have increased their losses and no profit increase has happened. So I think there is a need for a rethink on this. So therefore, emotional intelligence needs to be given importance. It is being given importance, but as of now, it's being given importance more at a middle management level and not so much at a top management level.
So before I ask you more questions on this, I would like to have you narrate any 3 or 4 experiences where you, as an emotional intelligence coach, have connected some people and you have found a little bit of profound positive result, and in what way?
Okay, so I will give you the example of someone who was a very top manager, and that person found a huge cultural clash between them and the organization that they were working for. And so what I was able to do as a coach is that I was able to get them to understand how they first need to be non-judgmental, how they need to be able to connect with the people, how they need to be able to understand the people, and then after that, how they can relate and make a better relationship with the person. Then I can also give you the example of somebody who themselves were working as a coach, but coaches also need coaches. So
Definitely.
yeah, so they had this issue that they had read a lot of theory, but unfortunately they were not able to translate it into practice in their real life. So that is when I explained the iceberg model of emotional intelligence, where I said that look, the theory that you read is only 10% of the story. That is what you see of the iceberg above the water level. 90% of emotional intelligence is actually what is below the iceberg. So
Definitely.
yeah, and that is all practice. Here, even I spend much more time on practicing emotional intelligence than reading about it because after one stage, you've read everything. What is there to read? But every day, life is throwing up new and new challenges. So every day, you are using those principles. So I think that is why there has to be a huge focus on practice rather than just the theory. Theory is good as far as you want to understand what it is. That theory is
Definitely.
good. But then after that, you need to have a proper workbook. You need to have plans. You need to have time bound schedules in which you're going to achieve certain smart objectives. That's what needs to be there.
Yeah, I really like this concept of iceberg, because now what is happening is that people are actually just touching the tip of the iceberg and not trying to understand what lies beneath the iceberg. So
Correct.
when you want to go below the iceberg, it is better you consult a proper expert to help you channelize those kind of implementation techniques.
Correct. Correct. Yes.
Because that the way you mentioned is okay, the tip of the iceberg is this. But there are so many experts who have actually gone through the process and have actually transformed lives of so many.
Correct.
And due to the fear or due to the resentment issues or God knows whatever the issues they have, they just don't want to connect for a professional help to help them unlearn those things. We are talking about learn, unlearn, and relearn, but we are
Correct.
not trying to remove the unlearn thing. So, what is your take on this? The learn, unlearn, and relearn theory.
Now I'll tell you about learn, unlearn, and relearn. Unfortunately, that theory everybody has read in Alvin Toffler. So
Yes,
again, it becomes a bookish kind of a thing. Okay, I've read Alvin Toffler, good, it's a nice concept and all, but they've not internalized it. They've not internalized it and made it apply in their lives. Now,
exactly.
I'll give you an example. Very recently, a coach approached me, and that coach said that I'm doing so much coaching, but I'm absolutely finding no benefit from doing that. So I said, naturally, you will not find a benefit if you're mechanically repeating just those, coaching sessions day in and day out. It's not going to
Not going to
work.
handle.
Yeah, like if you see a cricketer, a cricketer cannot say the person is a batter. Person cannot excel just by being in the nets and batting all the time. That person also has to get a lot of good exercise. That person also needs to get into a fitness routine. That person also needs to be flexible. All those components also have to go to into it. He cannot just keep batting, batting, batting. So that's what's happening. People do a lot of monotonous repetition, and then they start getting bored with their work.
Definitely. That stagnation period has comes up. The
Huh,
saturation point आ जाती है एक, हाँ.
huh, huh.
Sir, my next question to you is that have you ever experienced connecting with any person from education field in whatever position, high authority, teacher, educator? How have you found the difference between the emotional intelligence in an educator or a person in the education industry and a person in the corporate industry? Do they match or both are poles apart? And how you as a coach try to understand the concept between both?
Okay, the person in a corporate setting works in a much more dynamic environment than the person who's in an education setting. Because I have worked in both sectors actually. So what I found is that the corporate sector person needs to keep coping with different challenges and changes that come every day. What's happening in the education sector is they they have a s- set syllabus. AICT has given a syllabus, and at the most, what will they do? They'll do net and set, and and then after that
Exactly.
they'll hold classes. Nothing more than that. That is the problem.
That's it. That is why I asked you this question, that how can you relate it? That is the most happening thing happening now. So
So they're
so
they have
yeah.
to get out of the net set mentality, that alone is not enough. You cannot teach children by that. You can understand the subject through net and set, but it will not help you to connect with the children and get them to understand. Yeah.
Because see, I have been a teacher trainer for more than many years now, and what I have observed is when you tell a educator to do something, learn a particular skill, or try to unlearn something which is not healthy,
Hmm.
they just don't put the efforts to do it. And when they get certain kind of an experience where there comes a question mark on their skill and or any kind of a experience that uh, helps them lose the spirit of continuing the day-to-day activity. That is where emotional intelligence becomes a question. They
Huh.
are not able to adapt and groom themselves. I mean to say, apart from academics and teaching and all that, they definitely face a lot many more problems which are not related academically,
Correct, correct.
and that hampers their teaching process, the delivering of the teaching in a quality way. So how can emotional intelligence help over here?
I think emotional intelligence can help phenomenally in two ways. One is developing resilience in the teachers. Okay, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Then I'll move on to the empathy aspect. As far as resilience is concerned, I see that many of them are suffering burnout. And how does this manifest? If their checkout time is at 5 o'clock, you will see a list of teachers who were standing in line to ensure that at 5 o'clock sharp they log out, you know. The other thing, they are constantly seeing their calendars. When is my vacation coming? When is my vacation coming?
Exactly.
They're looking forward more to their vacation than their classes.
Definitely.
Okay, so that is a disturbing thing. So I think if they are able to create more empathy, then they might be better off, because I mean, they are the people who are going to be shaping the future of the students. So rather than just delivering lectures, I think they need to be connecting with the students, asking more feedback from the students, creating a rapport, and that makes knowledge transfer also so much easier. That's what I feel.
Definitely. So, a person who is in a leadership position, number one, a person who is taking in charge of a full school in a very high authority position, a teacher who is taking a class of 40 students, and a coordinator handling a group of teachers.
Hmm.
How do you think their emotional unhappiness, I will say not happiness, emotional unhappiness, does it affect the whole environment? And if yes, how, and how can that be created in a better way?
Okay, so whatever emotions we feel, those carry a contagion with them. Okay, so it can be positive and it can be negative also. The good news is that a positive contagion is more powerful than a negative contagion. So if people are able to sort of acquire that, that's very good. The other thing also, I think, is that the heads of institutions need to be hands-on. So if you have principals and headmasters, they cannot be purely administrative principals and headmasters. They need to be teachers also. There has to be some subject with the principal themselves has to be teaching. Otherwise, they will not be
Definitely.
in touch with the students and they will not understand what's happening.
Wonderful, wonderful. So this is the current scenario, and what I'm observing when I go to the teacher trainings for the session, when I understand the behind the curtain emotional clashes, behind the curtain not being able to adopt to the emotional negativity happening inside them,
Hmm.
that is creating more drawback in the teaching learning process, and that is why I connected with you to help people understand that it needs a proper I'm dimension. You cannot just theoretically read and implement it. You have to go through an expert, understand the way the expert works, and how you can connect with the person who is into it. So that it can help you channelize the emotions on a better way, which can then give you productive output.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
So coming to education, since how can emotional intelligence help parents who have children as early as 3 to 4 years, and how they can create a better environment at home so that it creates the brain structure of a child in a better way.
Yeah. So there are two things that parents need to do. There is one set of parents that needs to increase their involvement with their children, and there is another set of parents which needs to decrease their involvement with their children. So, so I'll explain to you.
It's a balanced equilibrium.
Yeah. Because parents who are spending insufficient time with their children, they give them BSOs. What are BSOs? Bright, shiny objects. So they'll when the child is very small, they'll give them some dinky cars or something. When the child grows up, they'll give a mobile handset. When the child is little older, they'll give them a Porsche. And then you know what happens, you know. So so that is not good. And on the other hand, there are parents who are over involved with their children. They ask, how much did you get in math? How much did you get in chemistry? Why you got 93 and why you not did you not get 95? Huh? So and so's son or so and so's daughter, what did they get? So these helicopter parents, you know, they're very
Comparison. I
yeah.
mean, that's why the focus is more on education than how emotional intelligence, like you spoke about, providing things to the children all the time to curb the emotional satisfaction. So, do you think the provision of more and more materialistic thing to the child can help in their emotional regulation?
No, not really, because see, there are two kinds of things. There is pleasure and there is happiness. So when you give all these material things, they're giving a lot of pleasure to the child. Okay, that the child is getting a fantastic music system, the child is getting a terrific bike. All these things are giving the child pleasure, but they're not giving the child happiness.
Happiness.
The minute the child is away from that music system, the minute the child is away from that bike, there is no feeling of joy, right? So it's only creating an addiction.
Addiction. So how can addiction be reduced? Can emotional intelligence help in this? What are the ways that parents can channelize the child's mind and divert his mind into something more better? And in what ways?
Yeah, so uh, for that we have to understand the neurology of addiction.
Definitely.
Addiction is caused by the craving of the brain for dopamine.
Hmm.
Okay, that is what gives the rewards. Now, whenever the wrong kind of inputs are given to produce that dopamine, increasingly the brain needs larger and larger doses of dopamine. The receptors become resistant, and so that creates an addiction and a problem. The children need to get dopamine through the right things that they do. So suppose they are doing acts of charity. Suppose they are doing acts of bonding with their other friends. Suppose they are exhibiting kindness towards animals. You know, all these kind of positive and healthy things,
Definitely.
if they get derive their reward and their happiness from that, rather than doing it from substance abuse or process abuse. uh,
What you spoke is totally a gist of NEP. What we used to have, I think 40 years back, 50 years back, the education that we used to have, walking down the park, taking a talk, walk in the park, connecting with the elders in the family, and transparency among the family members, and relating to the issues each one is facing. This is actually NEP, and this helps the regulation of the emotional intelligence.
yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, how can teachers promote emotional intelligence in their students? This I will say in keeping in mind the age group 13 to 18.
Mhm. Yeah. See, I'll tell you what, the age difference actually should not be an issue. Now, if the teachers are older and the students are younger, that does not mean there needs to be a gap, because there can be synergy also. If I have, let us say, people who are very young, I can be a mentor to them. So the
Definitely.
teachers need to be in the role of being a mentor to those people, and because each one has competencies that the other person does not have. The student has phenomenal creativity, phenomenal understanding of technology, which the older people they don't have. However, the older people are able to regulate their emotions better. The older people are able to read patterns of what is happening around them better. So if both of these people work together, they can have a fantastic rapport, and both of them can develop well. So I think that is the approach that needs to be taken. It needs to be a complementary rather than a hierarchical approach. Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. So the teacher can't be the boss.
So, on what ratio do you think emotional intelligence application theoretical and application of practical approach is relevant, is better? What ratio?
No, so like I said, 90% of EI is practical. So it would by that math it would work out to -1, you know. But in the initial stages, of course, there is a need for more theory. But as the theory becomes sound, then people have to get into the practice. Like, you know, when you drive a car, you have the theory that, okay, to change the gears, you need to press the clutch. When you press the accelerator, the car will speed up. When you press the brake, the car will slow down. How long are you taught that theory? Hardly. It doesn't need much time. But being able to effectively drive the car takes a little time. So that,
Wonderful, wonderful. So, next question to you, sir, is in the corporate, in the teaching, in whatever sector, do you think it is now essential and should be made essential to test candidates for emotional intelligence apart from the degrees on the paper, and why?
no, that is a good thing because the good news is that emotional intelligence can actually be measured by psychometric tests, and EI now matters more than IQ because 90% of successful managers have a high EI. In 58% of uh, interpersonal transactions, EI plays a significant role. And they did a survey in the US where they found that annually the person with a high EI earned a salary of roughly $1,300 more than the person whose EI was not that good. So it makes a lot of business sense also for people to have good EI.
So I think I recently read somewhere, and I keep reading about this. A person goes for an interview and is an achiever, well rounded, and he gets selected on basis of his achievements on paper, degrees, and everything, and his marks and everything. That is phase one. But when he was interviewed on level two
Hmm.
to test his life skills and all,
Hmm.
he didn't make it even to the top five. So,
Hmm.
what do you think is the reason for not making it even to the top five? And why was this asked in the selection of a candidate? Wow, what do you think is the reason behind this?
See, the thing is that people do not develop in a rounded fashion. That they are taught to be rewarded for their IQ. All
Yeah.
reward systems are IQ centered. So therefore they do not build their EQ, and therefore you
Definitely.
find them behaving in yeah, behaviorally inappropriate ways, and which is why then that creates a problem for them. You,
I
you,
mean, yeah, I think as you mentioned that they just don't want to work upon themselves
you,
because they think that achievement, degrees, and marks are going to help them climb up the ladder, where they don't understand that sometimes these are also not much needed apart from these achievements. What do you think over here?
yeah, of course. It is important to develop the other skills also. IQ alone is not going to be able to sustain a person. Now, I have spoken with people from the armed forces also. And even in a setup like the armed forces, the people say that emotional intelligence is very important.
Because they are disciplined enough for the during the trainings and all that.
Hmm.
So, how to assess the candidate's emotional intelligence?
There are tests that are available.
Okay, there are tests,
Yeah.
which is that is the process that you help them implement in your coaching and all.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So, any kind of a red flag that you think has been witnessed by any person who was not emotionally resilient? I mean, I would like to suggest that any symptoms or any kind of a red flag that can highlight, oh, yeah, this person needs more better, you can say training, coaching, or mentoring. When you see the red flag of a somebody, and that is when that gives you a signal that this person needs to be emotionally coached to better himself herself.
So a very important red flag is when you see that there is no consistency between the words of a person and the actions of a person. Whenever there is a lack of consistency between words and action, it means that the person is stressed, and it means that the person is not coming from an authentic place. So, the stressed people and inauthentic people, they cannot be emotionally intelligent.
Definitely. So, anything else that you want to share on emotional intelligence? What are the 4, 5 areas where emotional intelligence can work better, and that can help a person shift his focus to a better transformation? Any 5 areas?
Yeah, so I can definitely tell you about 4 areas, because 4 areas are what we really work on a lot in emotional intelligence. So we look at leadership, we look at sales, we look at customer relations, we look at healthcare. So we are working on these four. And since you mentioned it, if you want a fifth one, I'll tell you education. Education also can benefit a lot from
That
emotional
I
intelligence.
was coming on that front. In education, what areas do you think where you think something is lacking, and what is it that is lacking?
Uh, Broadening of the mindset
Yes.
is lacking. So I think that is what is needed to be done.
What else? What else can be incorporated so that a person's whole delivery of the teaching and the quality can be shifted?
Yeah. So if the person is given a kind of uh, induction into human behavior, and if the person is able to understand people better, see, it's a neurological fact that knowledge transfer happens much better when the rapport is good. Okay, where do we retain our memories? We retain our memories in the hippocampus. When we are happy, the hippocampus is in an expanded state. When we are stressed, the hippocampus shrinks. So therefore, a stressed student can never absorb in the same manner that a happy student can absorb. So therefore, the teacher needs to know how to strike a rapport with the student.
Wonderful, wonderful. A lot to implement from all this. So, coming to the last round of the session is, I would like to ask you some questions for you. I will like to say that it's a rapid fire round kind of a session. Tell me about time you faced an ethical dilemma at work, and if yes, how did you deal with it, and what was the result?
Yeah, I have always faced ethical dilemmas at work, because there have always been means by which, you know, unfair income can be made. And I, I just told myself that I simply do not want to go down that path at all. So it resulted in my earning a lower income, meaning I only earned my salary and I did not earn those additional, you know, parts of
That
income.
is wonderful. So, how did you deal with it, and what was the result?
I, 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 I took it in my stride, and the result was that maybe economically I didn't turn out so well as the people who made that money, but in terms of my conscience and my happiness, I was on a better wicket.
So definitely after this session, definitely I will wish you best of luck to you, because more and more schools will be now aware of maybe inviting you for a session on emotional intelligence for the teachers, because teachers are facing a lot of emotional dilemma which they are not able
Okay.
to adapt and adopt also.
I see. I see.
So you
Okay.
have to now start working on this area also, that teachers are facing burnout. Burnout
Okay.
then disrupts the emotional intelligence of a person automatically, which creates a productivity level also.
Hmm.
So the second is, tell me about a time someone criticized your work. How did you respond, and what did you learn?
Yeah, so when someone criticized my work earlier, I used to get defensive, but after acquiring emotional intelligence, I always tell them that okay, I hear you. You didn't like this. Can you tell me why you didn't like it? That's all. But once they're able to justify, if it makes logical sense to me, I will accept their criticism and I will improve myself. And if it doesn't make logical sense, then I'll tell them that look, it's not making sense.
Definitely. Do you think emotional intelligence does help a person who can take in a better way to understand the kind of a criticism being put out? Because there are two criticism. One is negative, one is positive, one is healthy.
Hmm.
So
So so there are three things to communication. There is body language, there is tonality, and there are words. So words we can look at last. Firstly, we have to see the body language and the tonality of the person who's giving us the criticism.
that-
If that is not good, then the words don't really matter.
exactly. That is what I always say. Body language and words should align or together.
Yeah,
If they are not in alignment, the emotional intelligence is definitely required to transform a
yeah,
person.
correct.
So, next question to you, sir, is how will you resolve a dispute between two colleagues using emotional intelligence in a short way?
I need both of them to express themselves, and once both of them have expressed themselves, then I need to tell them about the merit of each argument, the way I am able to perceive it. And then after that, it is up to them to accept it or not accept it because, we cannot force anybody. We can only make people see the facts. But ultimately, they have to believe it and they have to act on it.
Wonderful. So, since you are in the corporate industry also, and now shifting into the education also, uh, if a customer called to complain that the price of a product or a service is too high, how would you handle it?
Okay, I would first ask them if you find it high, it's high with respect to what? See, whenever we say something is expensive, it is always expensive with respect to something else. Okay, so like if we were to say a Mercedes is expensive, we might say that the Mercedes is expensive with respect to a Honda or with respect to a Hyundai or with respect to a Maruti, right? So, and after that, of course, I would talk to them about, you know, prices being linked to what is being delivered. So whatever is being brought to the table, if it's valuable enough, then surely.
Definitely. Uh, did you ever find a time trapped between a conflict with a person in a leadership in your work front? And what kind of a conflict was it? Did you find it tough to come out or you took it in a very resilient way?
See, when there is a conflict with a leader, there is no point arguing. You have to give a cooling period, and then after that you have to take a call whether you want to go with what the person is saying or you want to present your side. Okay, and so we have to look at it dispassionately. Most of the times we accept what the leader says. That's the reality
Wonderful,
of life.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So I think somewhere connecting with so many people, understanding their emotions, studying them day-to-day basis. I mean, even while they type the chats also help you understand the functioning of a brain of a person also. That helps you understand the whole concept of the neurointelligence automatically also.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Uh, and the mindset of a person. So that in case if there is any conflict, you through the chat message you can understand the emotional connection of a person that this person needs that kind of a handling and that person needs that kind of a handling. So automatically you try to convert your mindset in that way.
Yes, yes.
So wonderful, sir. Thank you for this, and definitely I look forward to more in depth workshop kind of a session for 30 minutes for educators where they can pick up the implementation techniques from you. And I will try to create more and more awareness on this, that how teaching industry also can benefit from this emotional intelligence, which I think is missing nowadays. And Milind Kane sir is here to help you out, no matter whatever you're going through, no matter whatever the drawbacks are. Believe me, you will definitely have a 360 productivity module with you. So before ending the session, sir, a last message to the audience that you would like to give in a short.
Okay, last message to the audience is a very, very simple message. And yeah, it's actually the parts of a song. Don't worry, be happy.
Don't worry, be happy. So thank you so much, sir. I think Pratap sir is there. Pratap sir, do you want to say anything? Anything you want to share your feedback?
Oh, Milanji is too good. And thank you so much. I'm also enlightened and emotionally charged up.
Thank you so much, sir.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
The reason for calling sir is that when our viewers will watch, because the sessions are spread to 39 countries, even the global educators watch the session, and many are going through very troubled times. Many
Mhm.
are not able to come into what do you call it, calm approach. So
Okay.
sir's takeaways on the session, sir's feedback on the session, and his teaching on the session will definitely at least help two or three people, and automatically it will create a change maker.
Okay,
So
great.
thank you, sir,
Sure.
for
Yeah,
being.
yeah.
Thank
Most
you
welcome.
so much. And I take my honor in inviting you once again. And kudos to you. My pranam to you also. Thank
Okay,
you so
thank you.
much, sir.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, bye. Huh? Yeah.
Good night. Good.
Good night.